Hey guys, here we are live. Is there anybody there? I was a little bit late getting sparked up tonight. Nobody there. That's unusual. Let me just check the system's working. Oh, got somebody in the room. It says. Yes, a little bit late in getting the live loaded before I hit live tonight. So, yeah, a little bit off the pace. So sorry about that, guys. I'm just checking my phone. We got a light. Here we go, Mexican speak. Mexican speak. Hey, mate, how you doing? Good to have you here. I think everyone's given up on me because I didn't have it loaded quick enough. Tarbo, I always rely on Tarbo. Yeah, it's been busy, man. It's been busy, man. How you been feeling, Mix? I gathered you were been slightly under the weather, or you or your wife was. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe both of you. You were having what was it? Reaction to something that was in your food that shouldn't have been. Beagle Bob, hey, welcome along, man. How you doing? Mexican speak. I feel like I'm getting better, not so swollen. Well, that's a good thing. That's always a good thing. It sucks that it hits you that hard. That would be tough to live with. It's gluten, wasn't it? And how are you doing, Tava? How are you feeling, mate? Hopefully you're just continuing to improve. That wasn't hard. Gluten can put a person in hospital fighting for their life. I have a mild case. Really? Wow. Okay. Not a subject I know much about, I'll be honest. Oh, Stephen Blakey Bird, how you doing, man? Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, doing great. Working away on a Mustang most of the day, and then on a Cougar that kept overheating. But, we'll get to the bottom of that. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that thing. We couldn't get it heated up, then we couldn't get it cooled down, and just behaving strangely. Tavo, just doing what I can, Mr. Kiwi, and forcing a bit more, as you do. I'll either work out how to do stuff or break something. There you go. Yep. So what's everyone been up to? Who we got? We got 7 in the room. That's a quiet start to the evening. As I say, I was a bit late getting loaded, so loaded onto YouTube, I should say, not loaded. Got me some Applejack again. That's rather nice. I'm quite partial to that. It's quite a nice sipping bourbon or whiskey. So, Volfly, you were here early, mate. Clings to a slice of chocolate cake. Is that the main course tonight, chocolate cake, or are you doing one of your exotic dinners tonight? And Charlie Dalton. Chuck, welcome along. Welcome along. So yeah, you guys probably saw that short I did over the weekend of the Alpine. Yeah, that was kind of one step forward, 2 steps back a little bit on that one. But I've been scratching my head and figuring a few things out, and I've got it a lot closer. Does appear that we're going to have to forego the stack injection. Is not going to be a happening thing. I could have got a little bit of clearance at the back of the stack, but with the way the hood noses over and it goes down quite steep, it would have required, with the height of the stacks, I found out the actual height of the stacks, and some of the information I'd managed to find said they were 9 inches tall, and that was, I'm thinking that'll work. Turns out they're actually 11.5 inches tall. The dimension that's 9 inches is how wide they are, not how tall they are. So that was kind of sucked. So yeah, Mrs. K is pretty adamant she doesn't want a hood scoop or a power bulge or anything in the hood. She just wants a stock hood. And of course, she's not as invested in the stack system as I am. So yeah, it looks like we're going to multi-point injection with a 4-barrel or 4 Venturi throttle body, and that will make life a lot easier as far as the installation that engine goes. That extra length of the, like the 4 barrels basically in a row. The stack injection is kind of like twin 4s, but it's, you get 1, 2, 3, 4 barrels down each side of the engine. So it puts, that 9 inches of height is right at the back of the engine. 11.5 actually, is right at the back of the engine. And right at the front. So yeah, it requires quite a bit of a hood clearance. And if the hood had been level and then nosed off, like a lot of, I don't know, like a Mustang or a Camaro or a moped, most regular cars, the hoods usually slope down a little, but not a lot, and there would have been room. But the Alpine really is quite a round, sloped, dropped off nose, and I was at a point where I could almost squeeze it under the hood, but it would have actually been like touching the underside of the hood on the front 2 barrels, which doesn't make for a lot of airflow, as I'm sure you can imagine. Yeah, so that's how it is. No stack injection, but the engine is going in. I got the height up at the back, so we had ground clearance on the transmission and stuff like that. And yeah, I've got a bit more opening up to do on the firewall, but we'll get there. Chris Freemuser, hey, welcome along, man. How you doing? Lumpy, welcome along, sir. Volfly, I'll probably cook some pecan-crusted salmon tonight. First, I need to pick up some chicken feed. Okay, it's all priorities. Just don't feed the salmon to the chicken, all right? Mexican Spectavo, have your caretaker go to a dollar store to buy some cheap breakables. Keep the cost down. There you go. Kerosene cucumbers, not and. Welcome along. Firefly, the chickens and ducks are a bit bitchy as a result. Well, yes, I imagine they are. Matthew Ward, welcome along. Tavo, on my own now, Mexican Spec, I got clearance to drive, limited. Much was taken away. At least you can drive some. That's. I know it's not ideal. Not mean to be flippant about it, but I mean, driving a small distance is a lot better than not. Charles Dalton just answered my question on the scoop. Yes, it's not really an option, So I thought I could build a nice, a quite slick-looking little like power bulge rather than a scoop, but no. So that's how it is. It's going to be a lot cheaper. Save quite a bit of money, so can't complain too much. Now, Mexican Spec. Kiwi, is it better to paint the car before the engine goes in? At a minimum, you need the engine bay painted at a minimum before you put the engine in. Typically, the cars I've built, we usually put them in after. On the Mustangs, we'll leave like the front fenders off and all the front, the grills and lower balances and all that sort of stuff off, before, until the engine goes in. which you can do on a Mustang, but the little Alpine you can't. So yeah, admittedly, I hadn't really quite thought that far ahead, to be honest. But it's possible that we might paint the engine bay and then get the engine in, and then not have to worry about marking paint and getting the engine in. But yeah, there's a little bit to be done before I have to make a crunch decision on that one. Because if you put it in before the paint, then you've got to make sure it's well wrapped, well protected, because that overspray gets freaking everywhere. Jeff Hutchins, I made it. Let's see if I can hold the customers off another 52 minutes. There you go, bud. Hansabar, made it. Good to have you here, man. Josh Homan, good. Welcome along. All the boys are here. But like me, a little bit late getting there. Beagle Bob, Edelbrock makes a few sizes of elbows for throttle bodies that are an alternate option to the 4-barrel throttle body. Yeah. Yeah, I am aware of those. I hadn't really thought too much about them, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that is an option, isn't it? To just have that single big, like 80 mil or whatever, round throttle body butterfly. I don't know whether that's a power advantage or whether you're better off with the 4 barrels going straight down. I'm not sure. I'd have to kind of see if what the advantages are. I've certainly got room for like a 4-barrel throttle body and a pretty conventional air cleaner on top. It's not a big deal. There's plenty of room for that. It's surprising how those stack systems from the top of the block, the valley, the top of the valley where the camshaft is, to the top of the stacks, the little Venturis. 11.5 inches. That's a lot. It's a lot. I really didn't think they were that tall, but they are. But yeah, that 2.5 inches that I've been running on the misconception that they were only 9 inches tall kind of caught me out. Hansabar, good question. Yeah. Mr. B, any chance injection? Yes, I'm still up. Yes, it's definitely going to be injection. We're going to put multi-port injection, so 8 injectors, into the intake ports, and just exactly what it'll either be like a Holly Terminator or something. I'm not quite sure yet. Beagle Bob, they make up to 105 millimeter. I think it is cheaper. Okay. All right. Yeah, because it's about. I saw the Holly 4-barrel one, and that's about $500. Which, considering there's really nothing in it other than an IAC valve and a throttle position sensor that and 4 butterflies, it's a fairly simple piece of equipment for $500. But I saw Speedmaster had one that was like just over $200, but there was no electronics in it. There was no IAC, you had to buy the extra. You had to buy the throttle position sensor separately and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't really only $200, Tavo, change directions, 4 DCO Webbers crossing over keeps the height down. Yes, that it does. Yeah, good luck finding anyone to tune 4 side draft Webbers on a V8 in America. That would be a tough call. Probably anywhere for that matter. Speedmaster do a crossover side draft intake, and I saw that and thought, ooh, because that looks so cool. But they only do it for the 351, which kind of sucked. The only intake manifold they've got for that configuration is the 351 Windsor, not the 302. So, and the other thing against that is the width, the sheer width of them was going to run me into difficulties on the rear carburetors. So I was kind of 2 strikes on that one. Beagle Bob distributor, LS style coils. LS style coils is the plan at this point. Beagle Bob Edelbrock elbow is about 150 to 200. Works with throttle bodies about the same price, so maybe not much cheaper. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about like pointing the it's with the engine so far back. Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of lean towards the 4-barrel throttle body, to be honest. Keep it a little bit more old school looking too, I guess. Jeff Hutchins put a new power steering pump, AC belt, and main belt on my wife's 2000 Suburban, the Battle Burb, this weekend. It was way more of a pain than I thought it would be. It added another kill to it. Jeff Hutchins, where's the second half of that? You must be typing. Where we got Valfly found the mild jet ignition webpage. Looks like Stellantis did a good job of copying it. The design reminds me of a military multi-fuel engines with the injector and spark plug next to each other. Oh, wow. Interesting. No, Valfly, not sure if my link posted. I'm not seeing a link. Let's close that little window that popped up. Let's change the top chat to live chat. Make sure we don't miss out on anybody. No, not seeing your link, Valfly. Oh, Mexican Speak. Only a mod can post a link. Oh, there you go. See, Mexican Speak, that's why you need to be a mod. I know, you're only here for half the show. So I get it. I'm just messing with you, bud. Tavo, yeah, good point. Didn't think about the back ones sharing real estate with the firewall. Yeah, well, with the back, the back few inches of the motor really behind the bulk of the firewall. It's that's what's the with the either like the original Tigers were a 4-barrel carburetor, so they're in the middle of the manifold, and you've got like 6-7 inches behind the carb. That can be super low, and the engine tucked back in that hole. But when you've got, imagine twin 4 barrels or the stacks or the side drafts, it's all the whole engine induction is as long as the whole engine. Valfly drat foiled again. Jeff Hutchins record. A guy took the driver's side mirror off his Toyota Camry at 70 mph. My wife was parked and he slicked it right off the side and threw it down the road. Left a racing stripe on the side. Oh, that sucks. Beagle Bob, a 4-barrel would look better for sure. Yeah, I think so. No, Valfly. No, search for the mild jet ignition. That should find it. Fair enough. Jeff Hutchins, the Battle Burb had been rear-ended by a GMC pickup, put a Freightliner on a tow truck after it rear-ended my wife and now took the mirror off a Camry. Now, is it the truck? Is it your wife? Is it like just bad luck? Like, I don't know. That's you've had a few issues, haven't you? I wonder if there's a common denominator here somewhere. Chuck, we're a few likes behind. Please hit the button. That's a good point. Yes, hit that like button. It does help, guys. It does help the views, all that stuff. So, yeah, it'd be awesome if you can. Valfly, it has pre-combustion chamber with a GDI injector and a spark plug in it, linked to the main combustion chamber through a 7-hole copper jet to breathe rich fire into the combustion chamber. Wow, it's getting so complicated now, isn't it? So complicated. Yeah, when you think back to the days of the original old true Hemi, just one spark plug in the middle of the combustion chamber, big old half-round combustion chamber, and you lit it and it burned, and everybody carried on their merry way. But now it's very complicated, but it's also insane how many miles per gallon we're getting today. So, but yeah, that sounds. I had heard something about that before, that pre-combustion chamber. Somebody was telling me about that, an engine that was being developed with that. Yeah. So, but now that a 7-hole copper jet to breathe rich fire into the combustion chamber. I wonder how long the copper jet lasts. Because I imagine that little jet of fire is pretty hot. Wow, that's wild. Steve Sadusky, hello all. Sorry I'm late. I was out killing mopars. Oh dear. Mexican spec. I had a 68 Thunderbird that it felt everyone was aiming at it. I got rid of it. Yeah, sometimes the cars are like that, aren't they? They just seem to be magnets for trouble. It's probably our insecurities just actually blaming the car when it's probably something we're doing, but who knows? You do live in a slightly different part of the world down there, Mexican. So yeah, I can't really speak to that, not very accurately anyway. Chris Freeman of Wildfly, that sounds like making a simple task as complicated as possible. Well, that's engines in a nutshell today, Chris, really. They're making them so complicated, all this variable cam timing, multiple displacement, and that's gotten so complicated, the multi-displacement, the way they're opening and closing valves, and switching intake valves and exhaust valves off so they stay closed, but they can't be closed for too long or it creates a vacuum. And there's some computer genius going on inside of all that, and yeah, there's some mechanical stuff they're asking a lot, of. Yes. Don's Manufacturing, welcome along, mate. We haven't seen you here for a little while. Hello, Kiwi, and all from warm Portland, Oregon. Yeah, it's cooled off a little bit again here, and we had a couple of hot days late last week, and then this week's been fairly cool. So I'll take it. I'd rather be a little cool. I can put a jacket on when it gets hot. They get funny about running around the shop naked. It's not, and it's a bit dangerous. But you can only take so many clothes off. Jeff Hutchins, people love to hit the battle bird with all the insurance money I've received. It's paid for itself twice now. It's still driving along perfectly fine, but the Freightliner destroyed the rear bumper. Oh, well, you don't really need a rear bumper, do you? Chavo, the Honda CVCC was an early version of that concept. Yeah, I mean, this is not, it's not just the 2020s that this bullshit's been going on. It's been going on for a little while. And, yeah, the engines have gotten too complicated in my view, and maybe I'm just a little bit bar humbug and a bit too old school, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, people don't complain about the miles per gallon, but I tell you what, I mean, if you miss an oil change, you're going to cost yourself a lot more than what you save on fuel, because you cannot have dirty oil in these modern engines with all the the hydraulic trickery in the valve train and stuff like that, and the cam timing. You cannot have dirty oil. That will cost you a fortune. You don't sort of do your oil change intervals, as per the factory plus 500 or 1,000. You do it as per the factory intervals minus 500. Yeah. Firefly Stellantis version only has a spark plug behind a 7-hole copper jet. The jet shouldn't last very long before eroding. In other words, they put a perforated anti-fouler on this plug. Huh. That's an interesting way of describing it. A perforated anti-fouler. Yeah, well, after what happened with old Marge coming out of when we picked her up with that anti-foulers, I'm not a big fan of anti-foulers anymore. So seems like a bad idea to me. Firefly Honda did it first. They're pretty clever. You know, there's pretty clever. Mexican spec, no Kiwi. I was correct. I sold it on the payments, which were never made. When I repossessed the car, it was hit on every corner. It was definitely the car. Okay, fair enough. I sold it on payments, which were never made. Yeah, that's always that's risky, isn't it? And yeah, it didn't work out. Yeah, that sucks. Tavo, cool and wet here this week. Wow, you'll be loving the rain, wouldn't you, in that part of the world? Jeff Hutchins, that's why we keep driving the Battlebird, just a plain Jane 5.3 LS with no fancy crap on it, 320,000 miles, leaks oil but doesn't burn it. Yeah. Yeah, it's it takes my mind back to that Tesla short that I did, and those two Teslas that were dead in the water with bad batteries, and your Battlebird is, it's burnt a lot more fossil fuel than the Teslas did in their time, but it's like the fossil fuels that were burnt, its actual carbon footprint, I don't think is that bad. When the longevity of it, the miles you've actually achieved in it, how far you've gone in one car, that's probably two sets of. Apparently, the Tesla batteries. Someone was telling me, and don't quote me on this because I've got nothing. I've done no research to back it up. But apparently, typically the Tesla batteries are good for 150,000 miles. So to do what you've done in your Battlebird, that's two sets of batteries. That's 40 grand in batteries. That's a lot of money. And the impact on the environment for making those batteries and recycling the dead ones is more than they let on. Oh, Chris Freemason, you got me. Okay, that's that. Yeah, you're right there. The engines are too complicated, says the guy who drives a fancy new Audi. Yeah, you're guilty as charged. I'm stumped. I don't know what to say to that. It's fun though, and it's not electric, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah. No, yeah, you got me. Firefly, I wonder if I could start selling copper anti-foulers. Could be a temporary advantage that is serviceable. There you go. Charles Dalton, we have a Q5 as a rental, no dipstick. Check the oil on the touchscreen. Not a fan. Yeah, you kind of got to look at that. I mean, look at who's driving them. People don't check the oil very much anymore. They'll take it in to get it serviced, and theory is that the oil that's in it will still be in it. Back in the 60s, the cars leaked oil from being a year old, if not earlier. So you had to check the oil just to sort of keep up with leakage, not even so much burning. But the new cars don't really leak oil. And why, if the technology's there to be able to know the level of oil electronically and look at it on a touchscreen, why would people will do that? They don't want to get out an old rag wipe a dipstick down, poke it back in the hole, find the thing in the first place before they even pull it out. And yeah, actually, in some ways I'm with you, Chuck. I'm not a fan. In other ways, it makes sense. Like they have the electronic wizardry to be able to do that and tell you when you're low on oil. And it makes I bet you it saves, one, it saves the manufacturer money on drilling the dipstick hole, the dipstick tube, the dipstick itself. It doesn't sound much, but that it adds up when you make, a million engines. A couple of bucks here and a couple of bucks there is a couple of $1 million here and a couple of $1 million there. So, and they probably have less warranty issues because of it, because the touchscreen will flash up at the driver going, you're low on oil, you're low on oil. And, it's like having oil pressure gauges. Like, really, an oil, what you need is an early oil pressure warning, light, noise, buzzer, something. Because if you're not looking at that oil pressure gauge when it drops, if you glance down at your oil pressure gauge 20 seconds later, it's too late. Now, Tavo. Kids' mother's Hyundai will be getting oil changes well short of the factory spec 15,000 kilometers. That's ridiculous mileage between changes. That is a lot. And knowing Hyundai, Hyundais are developing a bit of a reputation for being oil burners. So I wonder how many quarts you'd need to add to the engine during that 15,000 Ks. And 15,000 Ks is about 9,000 miles for the metrically challenged amongst us. 16,000 Ks is 10,000 miles. So it's about 9,000 and something miles. Steve Sadusky, are you serious? Charles told him. I think he is, mate. And those of us that know how like to check our engines and have a finger on the pulse, and we can actually go in and look and see for ourselves that things are as they should be. But the vast majority of the public now, they're not interested in that. They just expect the car to go when they want it to go and expect it to stop when they want to stop, and everything else is up to the people who made the car, not their problem. I don't say that I agree with that attitude, but that's the overwhelming attitude, and the manufacturers have created that confidence to a degree, and which is also driven by a complete lack of confidence in the consumer by the manufacturers, because they know they can't trust them to service them regularly. They know they can't trust them to check the oil and water, so they need to put fail-safes in the car to make sure. So yeah, there's definitely two sides to that one. Jeff Hutchins, when we first got the Battlebird, it was nice. Now we can use it any way we want. Park it anywhere, take it up in the woods, don't care anymore. Just keeping up the maintenance and using it. Yeah, this is it. It's still doing its job. And who's to say it's not going to hit 500,000 miles or more, and just keep going and not really be a big burden on the planet, really. Volfly, the copper jet holes are 1 millimeter with the center being 0.5 of a mil. That's fairly small. Wonder how long they stay that small. Charles Dalton, Steve Zadusky, yes, sir. I had to look it up after I found those nips. Oh, yes. Yeah. Hang on, I lost. Where's my spot? I've done it again. There we are. Good old Chris Freeman, Satavo, same here. Factory interval on our daily drivers is 10,000 miles, 16,000 Ks. I change it every 5 to 6 miles. Oil is cheaper than engines. Absolutely it is. I tell you what was pleasant when I took the that little 289 that I'm using as a mock-up in the Alpine. Took the valve covers off that, clean as a whistle. That is like, it looks like an engine that's done a couple of 100 miles, not 100,000, a couple of 100 miles. It's just clean, clean, clean. For a used engine of, somewhat unknown background. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. It did sound like a good engine when I heard it running. Drove it into the workshop. It sounded pretty good. But pulling the valve covers off, I'm like, wow. I'm used to like chipping off the crud and the carbon buildup, but no. This one just looked slightly wet from the oil that had been in it, and other than that, clean. Firefly, there ought to be a law against engineers who are against dipsticks. Yeah, we're a dying breed, unfortunately, Firefly. We're a dying breed. My daughter and my son, for that matter, I mean, he's training to be a doctor. He's not interested in what's going on under the hood of his car. He'll come out and he'll be a surgeon, and he'll pay people to look after that shit. He's not going to be doing it. Either that or he'll come and ask me to, which is entirely possible, but hey. Dave 8334, my wife's RAV says 10,000 miles between all changes, but footnote 5,000 in areas that use road salt. Please read the fine print. That's interesting. So why would the oil change interval halve if you use salt on the road? That road salt shouldn't be getting in the engine, surely. That's curious. I don't really get that. What are your theories on that, fellas? The road salt, yeah, I mean, I can imagine cleaning underneath it twice as often, but not changing the oil twice as often. Don't quite get that. Huh. Jeff Hutchins, Firefly agreed. If it doesn't have a dipsticks, it's a ticking time bomb on the drivetrain. Yeah. I don't know. I do. On one hand, I agree, and I also think it's a great idea to have the car tell you it's time for an oil change, and then, as you get closer to your due service, it tells you more often, and certainly get me to change the oil. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days the manufacturers put them, will make the car go into limp, some form of not a harsh limp, but some sort of restriction if it goes too far without an oil change, to protect the engine against people who just don't give a shit. Many years ago, I knew I was quite tight with the guys at a Toyota dealership, and they had a Toyota Hilux, which are pretty indestructible. And this was back in the 90s, I guess it was, 80s or 90s. Hiluxes were pretty indestructible. And this guy killed the engine in it, and he'd done something like 25,000 kilometers, it would have been. And the thing was, it was out of oil. It was out of oil, and what was left in there was just thick, gooey sludge, and he just destroyed the engine because he never took it in for service. He never had the oil change. He just got in it, drove it. That's what he paid his money for, and he just got in and drove it. He didn't have time to mess around getting services done. And then he wanted it fixed under warranty. That didn't happen. That warranty was denied. And he threw his bricks out of his pram and stomped off and went and bought a Nissan. And who knows what happened to him after that. But yeah, he just literally drove a brand new Hilux to death. Obviously doesn't happen all the time, but this was a trade guy too. You'd think he would have had, it wasn't, some white collar, top floor office guy who, knew nothing about anything mechanical. This was a tradie. And he just drove it to death. And those of you that aren't familiar with the Toyota Hilux, they're pretty hard to kill. Joseph Sott, 2002 Maxima, still running great. There you go. 24 years old, going good. Chris Freemeser, electronic oil level measuring doesn't allow you to look at the oil to see if it's clean or contaminated or whatnot. Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. And it'd be nice if they had both, to be honest. So you could check it yourself if you want, if you're so inclined. And for the people that are need to be protected from themselves, they need the computer to holler at them until they do it. Charles Dalton, I agree with you on the convenience of using the screen, but it takes away the ability to see the condition of the oil. I realise guys like us are in the minority, but I'd like the option. Yeah. Yep. I think that's a very fair. That it would be good to do that, to have the option. But there's the engineers wanting to look after their engine that they've taken so much time and effort to design. And then there's the bean counters that are looking after every dollar. Because the number of the cars they make, and if they can save $1, it's a lot of money. Mexican speak, if a car is at Copart and a guy looking at it needs to pull the dipstick to see the condition of the engine, the dash will not tell you if there is water in the oil. Agreed. But guess what? The manufacturers don't care about that scenario. If their car's in at Copart, it's been wrecked, it's done, they really don't care. They just want you to buy another one. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And yeah, it's. I think we're going to lose though, Mex. Honestly, I do. I have vehicles with 200 to 440 Ks. No dipstickers, no go. Us peasants with old trucks have to have dipsticks. Yeah, I agree. Beagle Bob, think about adding oil, going back to the screen for it. They still have to put a hole in the pan for the sensor and wire. I refuse to believe that a gauge can measure volume of oil. That can measure volume of oil is cheaper. You could well be right. I don't know. It's cheaper than a stick. Maybe not cheaper, but possibly. I have to suspect that it comes back to being motivated by some warranty issues. If they can stop people running their engines low on oil and causing issues that in turn cost the manufacturer money, then that's what they'll do. That's why they have limp home mode now, so you don't absolutely kill a car and then go screaming to them for warranty. It's kind of sold as they're helping protect us. They're protecting themselves. That's a very politician kind of BS line to run. Andy Nickel, late again. How are you all? We're all good. Fly. It's like removing a stick from a corn dog. It's complete blasphemy and very messy. Yes. Joseph Sott's new cars. F that, in my opinion. Fair enough. I can't say much because I've got a new car. So, and I love it. I do. But I completely understand, what you guys are saying. What's going on here? Okay. Wow, I'm a bit behind. I have to speed up. Dave 8334, oil level is fine, just looks like mayonnaise. Yeah, that's never good, is it? Jeff Hutchins, wish my differentials had a dipstick. There you go. And transfer cases. They do have inspection, like a level plug, don't they? You've got to be able to kind of reach in and you can touch the oil, you're good. But yeah, that's your dipstick. Jeff Hutchins, Fave 8334. Yes, if antifreeze is getting in your oil, the sensor will still read full. It might be overfull. Yeah. Well, at GTO I had a while back, I drained 9 quarts of oil and antifreeze out of that, 9 quarts. It just kept coming. I'm like, holy moly. Joseph Sott, a Mopar guy, I'll drive old Ford before that new car. Wow, that's saying something from a Mopar guy. Tavo, when it comes to the Neon, that gets a new oil filter now and then. It gets the continuous oil change at about a gallon over 5,000 miles. Yeah, well, we marched quite a few oil changes on the way back from San Diego. Yeah, that was the oil change on the run. David Tyree. Oh, mate, that's never a true word has been spoken. If you want a dipstick, there are plenty of them walking around out there. Amen to that. Jeff Hutchins, I'd drive an old Kia before buying a new car. Some of our Kias aren't too bad. The very early ones were a bit sketchy, but they figured it out pretty darn quick. Now, Chris Freemess, I've been scratching my head about the road salt thing as well. Lived in the Rust Belt all my life. Never heard of road salt impacting oil changes. No. Okay, here we go. Beagle Bob. Inhaling salt spray as a justification. Probably any excuse to deny a warranty. They also say dusty or over 100-degree air temps or towing requires more frequent oil changes. Towing, I get over 100 degrees. Well, don't really follow that one. Typically, your engine oil runs at about 200 degrees. So a 100-degree day, I don't think is going to impact your oil temp that much. Yeah, any excuse to deny a warranty, that could well be part of it. Firefly took the gem out of our donut. Mexican spec. Cars sold in Las Vegas also have a shorter oil change schedule. Huh. I did not know that. Joseph Sod. I had 6 Hayne Ford. Oh, now come on. They're not that bad. Says the Ford guy. Roger Stockton, where they use road salt, temperatures are cold. Flooded engines are common, gas and oil, etc. Okay. Huh. Yeah, okay. So the cold startups, they're running richer because there's more choke applied probably, and they're colder for longer. So you get that gasoline or petrol washing. Yeah, that makes sense. Tavo, something that did surprise me greatly, the Hyundai allows you to change the next service due on the screen to your own interval. I set hers to 7,000 K, so it will alert her then. Well, that's giving you some control back, isn't it? Can you set it to higher than the recommended spec, or only lower? I bet you it's only lower. If they got any brains, it'll only be lower. Chris Freemesser, I can kind of understand that due to dust, sand getting into the engine, but road salt isn't blowing around in the air. No, not typically. It's pretty cold, isn't it? Mexican spec. No, but extreme cold can be as bad as extreme heat. The salt. I don't get the cold. I can kind of understand. The salt, I'm not sure, unless it must find its way into the air intake somehow. and become something of an abrasive. I'm guessing. I don't know. You can be sure they wouldn't have said it for fun. Firefly, I said everyone's all-minded to 3,000 miles due to the thinner oils and turbos, things that max out synthetic oils. Yeah. Yep. It is really cheap insurance. You know, the engine stays cleaner, lasts longer. Chef Hutchins, my dad got a Cummins into rebuild. He had been driving around in Arizona for years with no air cleaner. The ring lands were worn into a knife edge. Oh my Lord, really? Wow. They do need an air cleaner if you're doing a big miles, especially around Arizona. Wow, in that desert sort of conditions. What was his theory for not having an air cleaner? Did he just get sick of buying them? And how many miles did his Cummins last, like being driven like that? Okay, so it was in for a rebuild, but was that at 150,000 miles or 1,000,000 miles? Like how much did the no air cleaner actually take off his projected mileage out of an engine like that? Dan's Garage, I don't lift the hoods on my newer cars unless they need washer fluid. The 79 and 96 are leakers though, and they get a look more often. Yeah, makes perfect sense. My Audi, I think I've been under the hood 3 or 4 times. And I think half of those are because someone asked to look under it. It's not even, it's a pretty car. For me, it's not pretty under the hood. It's just masses of plastic covers. There's an engine under, there's a tricky engine under there somewhere. And I know there's 2 turbos on it. I've yet to see the turbos. They're all buried deep under plastic covers, and I'm not yanking at the covers to get them off and break them or break a clip or just to see the turbo. It's like, it's in there. I know it's there. But yeah, I'd much rather have an engine bay where I could see the engine. I don't like the way they just bury them under trim and plastic crap these days. It's sad. The engine is and I guess this is the side effect of being a car guy, is that engine is a piece of art. Yeah, especially like a twin turbo V8 is like, that's it's like, ooh, let's look at that. Oh, we can't. It's like, it's quite the anticlimax. Yeah, not everybody wants to see spark plugs and valve covers and plumbing and stuff like that. They just want to see this wonderfully clean, molded, piece of something. I don't even know what that something is, but yeah. That's half the reason I wanted to put stack injection, was the Alpine was just the cosmetics of it. Just the cosmetics. Because it looks so cool. I mean, to cover that up with a load of stuff would be just criminal. That's just me. Jeff Hutchins, the crank bearings were fine. Huh. Joseph Sott, by the way, Kiwi, thanks for the show. Well, thanks for being here, man. It wouldn't be a show without you guys. Dave 8334 RAV4 manual says 5,000 miles for road salt areas, trailer towing, rooftop carriers, short trips or high speed. Well, see, short trips are hard on engines. High speeds, that makes sense. Yeah, the windage and the drag with trailer towing or rooftop carriers. Yeah, road salt areas. Yeah, we still haven't really definitively answered that one, have we? Chris Freeman, is a thing to keep in mind is that not every extremely cold place uses road salt. Some only use sand. Yeah. Robert Meyer. Good evening, Kiwi. I knew of a guy who worked construction who would buy a new pickup truck, drive it for 50,000 miles with no oil changes for nothing, then trade it in for a new one. Yeah, I think that was very much like this guy that I was talking about earlier. But he didn't get this 50,000 miles. Yeah, that's just, I can't quite understand how their brain works on that, where the logic is in doing that. Here we go. Battlebird has a low engine oil level, which I love, and a dipstick. Good setup. I ignore the oil change light and just change it every 5,000 miles. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think vehicles like that, it doesn't have to be a Suburban, but vehicles like that are a little more simple, has a low engine oil level and a dipstick, and appeals on multiple levels. You don't have to be an electronics genius to work on it. Those things are going to become more valuable, I think. Not collector car valuable, but just more sought after. I can see tradesmen's trucks, a simple tradesman's truck, that with just a base engine, not trying to get 34 miles to the gallon, just like your 5.3 LS, just, that KISS theory, keep it simple, stupid. Those vehicles are going to become a little more sought after than people anticipate, I suspect. Joseph Sott, we got absolute morons running the country. Oh, yeah. As tempting as that is to talk about, I'm going to try and stick to the no politics thing. I mean, social media is a light with that stuff at the moment, and with good reason. But yeah, and yeah, I do want to chime in, but I'm not going to. I just don't want to start, having a bunch of us having a political rant in a car forum. I certainly understand wanting to have a political rant with what's going on in America at the moment, but there's plenty of places to do it, and let's just keep it light and a bit of fun this evening, because Lord knows it's the alternatives are not great. Daily my 77 CJ5. I love driving it. It's the most efficient, not the most efficient, but it's reliable. Parts are cheap and super easy to DIY when you need to perform maintenance. Yeah. Those cars are going to have a place. And I think it's a place that, is people, like the Uncle Tony, he's been predicting this for quite a long time, and I don't disagree with the man at all. And the more things, as more time passes, the more I think, he really is right. Yeah. My daughter's got a little 2014, 15 Fiesta, which a lot of you guys are probably aware of that anyway, but that's a pretty simple car. Yes, it's computerized. Yes, it's fuel injection, stuff like that. But it's pretty simple. It's pretty basic. It's quite easy to work on. And I say that, and keep in mind that I'm not familiar with that type of car to work on. Like I had to do a cam belt in it, which is not like doing a cam chain, on a small block Chev. It's nothing like it. But it was actually not that hard to do. Okay, I've got some mechanical knowledge. But a lot of people with, that are not professionals by any means, could do that, watch a quick YouTube video and go, okay, I can do that. And it might take them a bit longer than someone who's done it, 100 times, but they can get it done. I've replaced a bit of stuff on that little car, water pumps and cam belts and stuff like that, and it was Yeah, I mean, I just did what so many of us do, and watch a YouTube video because, like, I certainly don't know everything about a Ford Fiesta, that much at all. But I had to do a hub bearing on it, and that wasn't that hard. Again, quite different to doing a 60s American car, but not that hard. Oh, just be quiet. Damn phone. So yeah, the simple cars are going to be like, if that car gives up on her, like, yeah, I don't necessarily want her to buy a 10-year younger one because I don't think it'll be as reliable. Josh Homan, how on earth did the truck even last 50,000 miles being treated like that? Yeah, that's a long way. I wouldn't know oil changes. Good Lord. It's pretty wise. No wonder it gave up, though. Volflow, well, I've delayed long enough time to make my chicken feed run. There you go. Dave, I had a junk truck when I was a kid. When the lifter started making noise, I added 2 quarts and called it good. Never bothered to pull the dipsticks. Scraped when I had the money for a less crappy car. There you go. Yeah, you knew the oil was low. You didn't really need it. You just put 2 quarts in it. That'll do. And the old engines, you could get away with that kind of nonsense, like, not the modern cars. They'll bite you. Firefly has the correct descriptions of blasphemy. Hansabar, used is a good way to go. If you get a good model and a good owner, you can at least pull the codes pre-2010. I don't know. Andy Nickel, I think my city has gone back to high salt levels in the sand. My city. Okay. My rockers and wheel wells are all coated in white. I have to do my rockers soon. They get some warm weather. Oh, wow. Firefly, I'll leave the computer on in case I get back in time. Well, hopefully you won't be feeding the chooks for too long. Andy Nickel, the rust is not bad, but if I leave it one more year, I'll be in trouble. There you go. Stay on top of it. That's the way. Hands are bar, the dipsticks buy new cars. Oh, well, I try not to take that personally. Jeff Hutchins, on a CJ5, you can reach the dash and the engine at the same time. Comes in handy. Well, I suppose you could, couldn't you? Huh. That could be handy. That could be handy indeed. Chris Freemus, Andy Nickel, same here. Can't wait to get under the cars with the pressure washer to get the brine off them. Yeah. That must suck. That just destroys your cars, doesn't it? Joseph Sott had a 70 Challenger Hemi Auto PB. That was it. Missed that car. PB. Push button? That wouldn't have had a push button auto, would it? PB, am I getting that wrong? Power brakes? Auto power brakes? Push button? I'm not sure what you're saying there, but power brakes, it must be. Robber, Jeff Hutchins. Yeah, it makes a lot of stuff easy when you're messing with the stuff. Yeah. Charles Dalton, for salt, once the road is dry, the powder can be quite fine. Also, when wet, it gets everywhere. My guess is it's sneaking by the oil cap and PCV valve as well as the intake. Yeah, it must be doing something. Like I said, they wouldn't say it for fun. Chris Freemesser, you don't want to see the Audi engine, Kiwi. The timing chains are on the back of the engine. Yeah, I know. It would probably be frightening. Some of the Fords were like that too, weren't they? Some of the modular V8s had chains on the back of them too, didn't they? Yeah. Overly complicated. I know. But I'm not going to be doing 200,000 miles on it, or probably even 100. So But I tell you what, if I could take you for a ride in it, you would see what I see in it. Hansabar, take a look at a 69 Volvo engine bay. Talk about anticlimactic. It's a tractor. Yes, but they went, didn't they? A lot to be said for that KISS theory, I'm telling you. With cars, keep them simple. They're not as exciting, but I mean, if you want something that just keeps going and gets you to work and back, or gets you to the, wherever it is you're needing to go, regularly, a simple car. Andy Nickel, I'll be 71 on Monday and I don't feel like crawling under my car for an oil change. I'll get my mechanic to clean and oil the undercarriage when he does the oil and lube. There you go. Yes, my rack was jammed up today with a car, and I had to jack another one up and crawl under it, trying to get to the speedo drive. That was being under there is not so bad as getting down there and getting up again is getting exponentially harder than it used to be, even 5 years ago. Now, where do we go here? Now, Jeff Hutchins, I have no idea why he had no air cleaner. If I remember correctly, he put around 70,000 dusty Arizona no air cleaner miles. The turbo was still working, but we never saw it. I imagine it wasn't too happy. No. Oh, turbo. Yeah, of course it'd be a turbo. Yeah, they don't like dust. Wow, that's crazy. Probably all the technicians would say that couldn't be done, but it was. Bear Montero, hi. So I just saw the short on the Alpine. Why don't you move the motor forward, change the drive shaft, and fabricate a new shift linkage? We don't even have a drive shaft yet, so we don't need to change it. The shift, yeah, I could move the motor forward. I'm trying to avoid that. I want to try and keep the engine back as far as I can for weight distribution. It's going to be an overpowered little short wheelbase car. And I may well go forward a little. I think I have the room to go forward about an inch before getting into some fairly major cutting and redesigning of cross members and stuff like that, which I don't really want to do. I want to try and leave the engine back as far as I can. Yeah, it just surprised me how I really did think I was going to have more room than I ended up with. And maybe that was just being overly optimistic, with opening the engine bay up 5.5 inches. I thought this is going to be easy. But yeah, to try and keep the engine behind the front line, the imaginary line of the front axle. I want to try and keep as much of the engine behind that as I can. And yeah, achieving that was just a little bit harder than what I anticipated. And I've been doing some thinking on it, and moving, just jacking the engine up and down, and figuring out what I've got to cut where. And I've kind of got a plan. I have a plan, and it's going to go in, and it's going to be maybe an inch at the most further forward than what it showed in that short, which I can live with. That's still going to put it in the region of, even then it'll still be 5 inches further back than a stock, behind the front axle line than a stock Alpine or Sunbeam Tiger. So I'm happy with that. I can live with that. So but I'm a stubborn old coot, and I just had a certain plan in my mind, and I don't want to deviate from it. But I've had to give a little to get a little. So and the shifter, you sit so far back in those little cars because your butt's almost on the back axle. The shifter is not too much with the Tremix, you've got about, I would say, at least 6 inches of movement forward or back, like different positions you can put the shifter in on the stock transmission, and it could well be 8 in actual fact, depending on the shifter you use. So I don't think that's going to be a big issue. So yeah, it's I'll get it in. That'll be the next video. I'll get it in the hole. I've got to pull the engine out of the hole again and do a bit more cutting and trimming, and go from there. But yeah, it'll go in. Barry Cooter, hey, welcome along, man. Good to see you here. Hansabar, Tony is right. Get your old car now. It's hard to argue that one. Even if you want to, it's like it's hard to. It's like it's hard to. Mexican specs out. Oh well, good. Thanks for being here, man. It's always good. Your input is always very welcome and entertaining. So yeah, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next Tuesday, bud. Tavo, 80s diesel Hiluxes will have their place after Armageddon. This is true. Joseph saw Kiwi for a Ford guy, you're okay. Oh, there you go. Hey, what you got to remember, this Ford guy owns a GM product, owns a Mopar product, owns a German car product, owns Fords. So I don't know. I'm either very open-minded or a bit of a slut. It really depends how you look at it. But yeah, I do like my Fords, but mate, if it's old and American, I like it. Chris Freeman said, Tavo, those and old Beetles, Bartertown will be rife with them. There you go. Yeah. And I think I've said it here before, I've never been a huge fan of the Beetle. But they are growing on me a little, and you can't knock them for their simplicity, their reliability, their repairability. If something does go a bit wrong, you can fix them on the fly. They're a pretty neat little car. And as for the guys that race them, rather them than me. No, thanks. But yeah, just to get around is. I just remember there was an episode on Top Gear where the little short guy, he got himself a little old Opel, little square boxy Opel, very, very simple car. And he called it Oliver. I can't remember what model it was, but it was called Oliver. And what it did, like I can't remember what the other two guys were driving, but they had more complicated cars. And his thing wasn't as fast, wasn't as anything, with the exception of the only thing it did better was it just kept going. It just kept going. Yeah, it was an interesting show. Yeah. Beagle Bob PB must mean peanut butter. Oh, good Lord. Hey, there's a question for you, Tavo. How's the gas situation going? Are you running out? I've heard that in the more rural areas they either have run out or are about to run out of gas. What's going on there? Barry Cooter, I saw a video about adding molybdenum to engine oil. Apparently a dose of it is very good for getting maximum mileage from an engine. It's a very slippery substance. I've heard of it many times over the years, but don't really know too much about the technicalities of it. Todd Denier, late but made it. That's the main thing, mate. Were you out there working on your car on the Marlin? Yeah, so because if you're working on the Marlin, then you get a free pass. It's all good. Chucky, have to call it a night. Take care, everyone. Have a good week, Kiwi. See you in the TV land soon. Yes, I'll get a video. I've been a little... Yeah, I was going to do a video of the Alpine last weekend, and I kind of got a bit frustrated with it, with this whole engine not being able to quite put it where I wanted to put it, and which was why I ended up just doing a long short and kind of to heck with it. I was a bit sad, but you know, I'm over it now. I've got it figured out. I'm pretty sure I've got it beat. So that'll be the next video, getting on top of this engine mounting drama. Jeff Hutchins, yeah, Kiwi, you don't want that crappy blue thing. I'll trade you for a 2000 Battle Burb. I'll even deliver it. And I'll buy another 2006 half-ton four-wheel drive Suburban after owning one. I always will. Mate, they cost nothing next to, you know, yeah, and they're huge. You can put, yeah, I mean, you know, if you're not doing, where that car would suck is if you were doing like an hour commute each way 5 or 6 days a week, because your gas bill would be a little tough. But for an all-rounder, for doing whatever you need to do, it'd be freaking awesome. Bear Montero, how about a removable firewall section that makes it easier to remove valve covers and work on it? I have thought of that, particularly sports cars, convertibles. That drive shaft tunnel is kind of like almost the backbone of the car, and there is a surprising amount of strength in that inverted U section part of the tunnel and the shape, that big round, half round shape that goes up to the firewall. There's actually a lot of structure in there, more than most people think. And so that's why I'm not having it removable, because I want that structure in the car. That's why I'm cutting the firewall up more and moving it and just getting a little creative, so that you know, I can get to the valve, get the valve covers off. I can change the spark plugs and that kind of thing. Yeah, I am having to give up on the 8-stack injection system, because there's not room under the hood, and the owner of said car does not want any hood scoops, power bulges, lumps, bumps, or anything in the hood. She just wants it to look stock. So 4-barrel multi-port injection it is, conventional looking air cleaner. We'll put as much pretty stuff on the engine as we can, because I want that to look nice. It'll fit, it'll work. But, you know, I mean, it was just, you know, what am I trying to say? I was really just being honest with you guys. Like, some days are really good when you're working on your car and things come together and you plan, you know, love it. What did that guy used to say on TV? I love it when a plan comes together. Well, we all do, you know. Saturday was not that day for me, you know, but it doesn't matter. Even if you're doing this shit 6 days a week, it doesn't always go to plan. And it's only on the TV shows, the overhauling type shows, where it all goes to plan. You know, that's not the real world. And you know, yeah, I was a bit frustrated on Saturday, and that probably came through in the video, and that's okay, because that's how I felt. But that doesn't mean you give up. It's just a matter of thinking your way around the problem, and I think I have got it figured out. So watch this space. There will be a video where I get back on top of it, but it just wasn't my day on Saturday. Todd Denier in the driveway. You were just joy riding on the driveway, or what are you saying there, bud? Joseph Sott, my 70 Challengers headers, 7-inch slick 323 rear auto 13:37 at 107 mile an hour, hit third gear, 100 feet from the traps. Wow. Yeah, you needed a lower gear, didn't you? 323, I guess, was fairly tall. Tall, but not low, not drag strip low, was it? Todd and I wish I was talking with a guy about the last few parts I need to find for it. I should have an answer tomorrow. Well, that's cool. That's good news. Bear Montero, regardless, I like the work you've done on it. What I haven't noticed is the support structure you were working on to help tie in the new framework. Oh, hang on, we shot up the page. There we go. Yes, I haven't done any more on that. It's there, and it's on the list of things to do. It's coming. It's coming. Josh Homan, but the Audi is neither. Yeah, well, there you go. Chris Freemesser, you're talking about Richard Hammond. Yeah, he kept that Opal. I'd heard that, yeah. He still has it. Wow, that's cool. Oliver the Opal, yeah. I mean, he completely drowned that thing, didn't he? Like underwater, and then like just drained the water out of it and fired it up again. Yeah, I don't know if I liked it as much as him, but I thought it was a pretty cool little car. Super lights. It wasn't getting stuck everywhere. It was just tick the boxes. And that initial reaction to it was like, that's an odd choice. But then it's actually, okay, it was a little smarter choice or a lucky choice. I'm not really sure which, but it was a good choice. Barracuda, I've been giving some thought to high zinc oil too. The next time I change the 245 Hemi's oil, I'm definitely getting an old-fashioned high zinc oil for it. Well, if you're running flat tappets, which I'm sure you would be on a 245, they really do need some zinc additive or an oil that's high in zinc, which a lot of oils are not high in zinc because they're deliberately taking it out. Yeah, running a flat tappet cam, you want a high zinc oil like all the time. And when you think about it, if it provides that higher level of lubrication to the valve train, it must do it to the rest of the engine as well, right? Makes sense. Jeff Hutchins, Tavo, if we had crew cab turbo diesel manual trans four-wheel drive Toyotas here, I would have one. I'm not going to pay 3 or 4 times what they're worth to buy an imported one, though. Yeah. They fetch pretty good money, but they've got to ask yourself, why is the price high? People, people are getting a lot of money for them. It's because one could arguably say they're worth it. Joseph Sott, God, I miss that Hemi challenge. I'll bet you do, man. I bet you miss the paycheck that it would provide today too. That what's that? 6-figure car, easy. 6-figure car. Barracuda asked Tavo about his politicians, or perhaps not. Mate, I don't. I'm sure he's not that happy with them, but our politicians right now. Yeah, but we're not going there, so let's not go down that slippery slope. It's all over the media, and that's where it can stay. Chris Freemason, let's not. It angers the blood no matter where you live. Yeah, quite right. And we're not here to solve the world's problems. We're just here to have a bit of fun. Todd and I, Chris, I will find out tomorrow, but I might have found the rest of the parts I need for the Marlin about 3 hours away. Oh, nice. So what other parts are you needing for it? Jeff Hutchins, a Battlebird gets an honest 20 miles per gallon highway at 60 mile an hour. I can live with that. My BMW only got 25 to 27. Yeah, 20 miles at 60 is maybe a little slower. What's it like at 70? it'll last a long time at 60. You know, it'll double the miles it's got on it now. If you don't push it much past 60. 20 miles per gallon's not bad, really, is it? I guess it hurts a bit more now. What most of us are paying $4 a gallon now for even for regular. Yeah, and then like New Zealand, Australia, they're paying way more than that. So miles per gallon does become a bit of a thing if you're doing a lot of miles. Chris Freeman said diesel oil is higher in zinc. That's what I put in my Beetle. Yeah, I've never looked into why really the differences between diesel and gasoline engine oil is. I know there's a difference, but I'm not really sure what it is. Barracuda, Kiwi, I finally properly studied that Murphy Ambrose crash the other night. I think it was Murphy's fault. He could see Ambrose was going for the apex of the corner and he wouldn't let him have it. Gosh, it's been so long since I've looked at that accident. Don't know. Interesting that you say it was Murphy's fault. Most Aussies think it was Murphy's fault. Most Kiwis think that I've come across. I shouldn't say most. Most that I've discussed it with, Kiwis think it was Ambrose. Ambrose was Aussie, much like our beloved Tavo. But Tavo's just a better driver, I think. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd have to go and look at it again. And there's so many camera angles. Well, not so many, but the different camera angles kind of all tell a slightly different story. And of course, for them, it all happened in real time. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Yeah, as you say, he wouldn't let him have it. But at what point was he truly obliged to let him have it? Yeah. If you give way to other drivers that may or may not be driving aggressively, then at some point you get seen as a soft target. You know, or you go the other way, and you know, like a lot of people will say, discretion is the better part of valor. You know, like if you let them go and you can get them back later. But other guys are like, if you give an inch, you know, you're just looking at second. It's a tricky one. That's motor racing. That's why it can be very contentious, but it's what makes it entertaining. Jeff Hutchins, that's what my son and I were saying when doing the power steering pump, tensioners and belts on the battle bird. We kept saying, why is this taking so long? We are not inexperienced, just one of, Jeff Hutchins, one of those jobs days. Yeah. Some days it goes good, some days not quite so good. Todd and I, Chris, pour a refill. Yeah, it's getting a bit thin, this glass. There's a little bit left. I don't know that I'm going to make it to 9. We've got 30 minutes. Have one for me in hopes I can find the parts all in one place. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Joseph saw Kiwi, you keep Tuesday from being real boring. Thanks. There's a compliment in there somewhere, I'm sure. I'll take it. Thank you. Chris, I need some interior trim, hood ornament, AMC passenger, and the passenger side interior C-pillar plastic and some AC parts. Okay. Yeah, that'd be nice. Is it an AC car that you're going to get parts off, or just a guy who's got a stash of parts? Jeff Hutchins, Tuesday is my Monday. The Kiwi Live makes it easy to get up and head off to work. Oh, well, that's good, man. Whatever works for you, brother. Tavo, agree. Down here, diesel-specific engine oil has higher zinc content. Interesting. Todd, and a letter M for the trunk lid emblem for oh, you need the M, otherwise there's an Arlen. It's got to be a Marlin, not an Arlen. Jeff Hutchins, you could easily argue that those used Toyotas are worth 15 to 20 grand for sure, just not for me. Fair enough. Yeah, not considering you can probably What's your Battlebird? Battlebird, is that the right way? Worth. You must be able to pick those up for $5-ish grand now, can you? Buy quite a few for the price of a Hilux, can't you? Hands a bar. It's much better just to just be safe. Absolutely, it is. Barracuda, I've learned that even diesel oil has less zinc in it than it used to. Apparently, most four-stroke oil has a bit of zinc, but very little because it clogs catalytic converters. Ah. Yes, now that you say that, I think I do remember that somewhere. I knew they'd taken it out for pollution reasons, but I wasn't really, I wasn't aware of the catalytic converter. Okay. Yeah, I usually either, try and use a high zinc oil if it's a bit more performance orientated engine, or just, a high mileage oil and just throw in a bottle of zinc additive. Just because replacing a cam in paper is not that hard, but finding a good cam and lifters is very hard. They're having massive troubles with lifters and stuff, the machining of them, and getting lifters that don't eat the cam lobes and all that stuff. Beagle Bob, what's the drink of choice tonight? I'm drinking early times. Mate, I've got some Applejack. My lovely wife got me a bottle of Applejack today. So that's what I'm sipping on, and it's going down a little quicker than usual. It's rather nice, I have to say. Todd Denier, Chris, I found out tomorrow I found a guy with a complete parts cart. Wow, that's very cool. You need to grab, wow, it's all money, isn't it? But, I mean, you need to grab whatever yeah. What's it like getting windshields for those cars? Might be worth grabbing a spare windshield if it's got a good one. I know some cars you just can't buy a windshield for. And I bet the back glass is impossible to get as well, but very rarely do you break a back glass. But yeah, you got to be careful not to get too much stuff. Chris Freeman, half an hour to go. About time for Granddad's junk to show up. That's true. Joseph Sott, okay, not sure what you mean there, bud. And backwards, back straight, forward straight. I'm not sure what you're saying there, but Jeff Hutchins, meanwhile, Jeep 4-litre engines are just cruising along every day with flat tappet cams, Walmart oil and Fram 399 filters. Some might still be running on the 1987 oil, though. Good Lord. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, they're running on cruising along every day with flat tappet cams, but they're old flat tappet cams. They made them properly then. I bet you have to worry about a new cam in a 4-litre engine too. If you've got to go and buy a new one off, new cam and lifters off the shelf for a 4-litre, I bet you have to worry about them as well. Joseph Sott, you and Uncle Tony now and then what? Todd and I, with all my meds, I can't drink any alcohol anymore. I miss my Corbell brandy. I'll bet you do, man. Yeah, it sucks. Hansabar, what does it mean to do a 2-over? I give up. What does it mean to do a 2-over? A 2-over. No, don't know what that means. Yeah, Toddy, can't drink alcohol anymore. Yeah, with your meds. There's a joke about that, isn't there? The guy went to the doctor and he did a bunch of tests on him. He turned around and he gave him this huge list of everything he had to give up. And he said to the doctor, will that make me live any longer? And the doctor said, no, it's just going to seem a lot longer. Some truth to it, though, I suspect. Todd Denier, Chris, windshields aren't super easy, but there's still a few ambassadors and rebels around with good windshields. Okay, I was thinking they might be a fastback specific windshield. with the lower roof line maybe. Beagle Bob, was that like 2 ounce overs? Oversize. Okay, 2 over. 2 oversizes. Well, typically the oversizes start at 20, 20, 30, 40 over, 6, and goes to 60. So 2 over. Honestly, that probably means 30 thousandths over to be 2 over. I guess it could mean 20 thou over. They did used to do 10 thou over pistons and stuff once upon a time, but they've kind of skipped that size now. Jeff Hutchins, a good 2000-ish Suburban is easily available for 5Ks. Tahoes are even cheaper. The 5Ks ones really are nice. There you go. A lot of vehicle for $5,000, isn't it? Yeah, you buy 3 or 4 of them for the price of the Toyota. Makes you think, doesn't it? Cross Freeman said, you do mean 20 thousandths over? Yeah, I'm thinking it's either 20 or 30. Pain meds, antispasm meds, heart meds, and more. Gosh. You take too many pills, you'll start to rattle, mate. Barracuda, Ambrose had the Apex. I have to go back and look at it, mate. It's not fresh enough in my memory to get into a passionate discussion about it. It's really not. I'd have to go back and look. I remember being a Murphy fan at the time. I was still, he just doesn't really race anymore, but I was definitely a big Murphy fan, and that definitely affects how you view incidents like that. In the moment, it was all Ambrose's fault, without a doubt, in my mind, because Murphy was my guy, kind of thing. He's a hell of a nice guy. I've met him and spent a bit of time with him one morning pre a race, and he showed me around. And hell of a nice guy, very down to earth. Very generous with his time on race day morning. This was down at Pukekohe race, and great guy. We got it was me and 4 or 5 other guys. We won this competition, a radio competition, and we got to have breakfast, and it was with Mark Scaife. It was meant to be with Mark Scaife, and he showed up. He was there for 5 minutes and didn't want to be there. Chatted super briefly, and then said sorry guys, got to go, and he was off. And it's really? And the organisers were embarrassed, and next thing we knew, we're kind of looking at each other going, what the heck just happened? And so Scaife's an arsehole, in my opinion. Next thing we knew, Greg Murphy showed up. Someone said, hey, we got a bunch of Kiwi lads here, and I don't know what was said in actual fact, but something like that must have been said. We're kind of stuck. Can you show these Kiwi lads around a little bit? And he took us through their car hauler. He was awesome, and so I was, ever since then I was a huge fan. Just this was sprung on him with 2 minutes notice, and he took us under his wing, and he gave us he spent about an hour and a half with us on race day morning, and he genuinely had to go. Scaife, he wasn't even racing, I don't think, at the time. He was commentating. He just didn't want to be there. That's it. That's that glass done. We've got 20 minutes to go. What do I do? Joseph Sott, Kiwi, build a Street 390 Ford. Mate, I've got a 428, 427 in the shop at the moment. It's out to 486 or something. Nah, I don't know. Some people are big fans of the FEs. I'm not a huge fan of the FE. I'm just not. Well, I got a 460 in my Mustang, you know, which is out to 557. That's a beast of an engine. I actually think that 385 series is a better engine than the FE. I know that's really going to upset some FE fans, but it is what it is. That's how I see it. I'm not saying I'm right and they're all wrong. It's just how I see it. Todd and I, Chris, my neighbours know exactly where I am at if I'm moving because I sound like maracas being shook. Oh, God. Oh, at least you still got a sense of humour about it, bud, so that's a good thing. That'll keep you going as much as the pills will. Joseph Sott, 390 everyday motor. Todd Denier, 390 is a great engine, but a 406 is better. LOL, yeah. Barry Cooter. Ambrose had the Apex. Murphy wanted it too. It was impossible for him to have it too. He wouldn't back off. Silly, especially near the end of the race. That's from an armchair critic. Okay, I mean, it'll be on YouTube without question. I'll go back and have a look and let you know what I think from a little more open-minded point of view than I had when it actually happened. Time mellows you a little, doesn't it? That drink comes with free refills. This is America after all. Well, you guys might just have to chat amongst yourselves while I go and get a little extra. Todd Denier, 427 and 428 are amazing done right. So are the 429 and 460, and they breathe better. That's what I like about them. Jeff Hutchins, Tavo, we can say wanker here. Hardly anybody knows what it means. Oh, I think it's a fairly universal word, that one. But I will be back in just a moment, lads. Oh, don't go away. That'll be the ice. So. And he's back. Here we go. Cheers, lads. Right, where were we? What did I miss? 429, 460, they breathe better. They do, especially with trick flow heads on them. Todd and I have no clue what the Ambrose Murphy talk is about. What did I miss? Oh, mate, it's a couple of old Australian touring car drivers from way back. Gosh, what year was it? One very popular Australian, one very popular New Zealander. And both, neither of them were really fans of each other. And they got into a big tangle in a really big race in Australia. And it was quite controversial. And they had a screaming match on the side of the track with each other and telling each other all about their heritage. It was quite an infamous little event. But yeah, it's Beagle Bob. We can all go watch the crash and have an opinion. There you go. We'll start the whole brouhaha over again. There you go. Chris Freeman, so I already watched the crash. It was definitely Kiwi's fault. Vid might have been AI enhanced though. Well, there you go. You see. Who are Ambrose and Murphy's? What was the race? It was the Bathurst 1000, which is a very, very famous motor race in Australia and actually worldwide. It's got quite a big reputation. They have a lot of quite big name international drivers come out for it because it's a very, very tough, long endurance race. And Ambrose was one of the top Aussie drivers, and Murphy was probably the top New Zealand or Kiwi driver at the time. And they battled quite a bit. As I say, didn't like each other. And Yeah, the shit quite literally hit the fan. Firefly runs a propane torch over a salmon to caramelize the brown sugar. So you managed to not feed it to the chicken, so that's good. Now let's see what it tastes like. Beagle Bob looks like 2005. Sounds about right. That was in the Falcons and Commodores when it was Holden versus Ford or GM versus Ford. Great times for the sport. Great times for the sport. It's just not. I don't know. I hate to sound like that old guy that says it was better in the good old days, but I don't know. I really do think it was better in those days. The cars were road cars. They had 4 operational doors that were made of steel. It wasn't all fiberglass panels over, looking like a road car, but stuck onto a space frame. They could bang into each other and shit didn't shatter. They'd dent each other up, but like rear quarters didn't pop off because they got tagged. I don't know. It was better racing, I think. Yeah. And it's kind of borne out a little bit because they have touring car masters in Australia now, and that's becoming huge. It's becoming hugely popular, and that's racing all the old cars. And a lot of the old drivers have come back, like that Murphys and the Ambrose, who have been out of racing for 20 years, get back into it to drive the old classic touring car race cars, just because it's just a shit ton of fun. Beagle Bob, Todd, just Google Ambrose Murphy crash race. You'll find it. Yeah, it's probably that easy. I can't do it on a computer because I'm looking at a picture of me talking to you guys, so I can't get away from that. Firefly found a new spice from Costco, honey habanero seasoning. Should be great for the salmon tonight. Sounds good. Jeff Hutchins, Todd Denai, I'm thinking it's F1 racing. No, mate, it's not F1. No. I do like me some F1, but that's not F1. It's Australian touring cars. Tarbo, here we go. We get the Aussie perspective. At those speeds, once you're committed to that line and the other driver tries to change your mind, it's too late. There you go. Barracuda, I'm a big Murphy fan too, but lately he's been advertising new VWs and they're shit. Very expensive shit. Hey, he's got to pay the bills too, man. Joseph Sott, you and Uncle Tony car experts. Well, we certainly live and breathe them, that's for sure. And we've been messing with them for as long as we can remember. So I guess that, you put all that together and maybe that equals an expert. I don't know. Just guys that love cars with an opinion. I don't know. Todd Denai, the old Kiwi racer I know was Bert Munro in his old India. Ah, yes, there you go. An absolutely brilliant man. Absolutely brilliant man. And the movie is fantastic. And if you want to have a look and see what New Zealand was like back in the day, they don't show a lot of it because a lot of it is on the salt flats. And in the stateside. But there's a few little bits of the movie are set in New Zealand, and the accents, the cars, were the cars that they drove back then. It's very much it's kind of on point, as they say, as to being authentic New Zealand back in that 60s era. Chris Freemesser, Barracuda, I own an old Beetle and I totally agree with you. New VWs are not proper VWs. Firefly, time to unpimp the VWs. Firefly presses red button. Ooh, that's. I see what you did there, Firefly. I see what you did there. Barracuda, the real good old days were when Leo Gagan was racing a VG Valiant Pacer. Well, yes. Yep. Jeff Hutchins, the touring car racing is, where'd that go? Touring car racing is kind of cool. They look like actual cars. I like that better. F1 and Indy just don't interest me. Indy doesn't interest me. F1 I've kind of gotten back into. Although this year it's a bit of a fucking shit fight, to be honest, they've gone way too electric. And it's just a shitstorm. Firefly watches a Trey Bouchet bucket launch VW into the air. Good Lord. But yeah, F1 I've kind of gotten back into. Indy cars never have been that into. I was heavily into NASCAR for a while, but then that seemed to lose its way for me anyway. And honestly, I think it was probably as much some of the drivers that I liked. Retired, got dropped, left, whatever. I liked it when like Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart were racing, and that sort of era of NASCAR was pretty cool. And now, I don't know, it just doesn't hold me anymore. Joseph Sott, 70s were the best. Yeah. Todd Denio, Chris, have you watched any of the Goodwood races with the 64 Ford Galaxy? Yes, I have. Goodwood is on my bucket list of places, not much place, things I need to go and do. I really badly want to go to that event. There is, from everything, there's a huge amount of footage of it on YouTube, and just type in Goodwood, and it's Goodwood Festival of Speed, I think is the full name. But Goodwood will take you to a lot of videos of some just awesome racing and some old, nothing terribly modern. There's a few guest appearances of some quite modern, super high-end performance vehicles, but typically it's older cars, the historical racing, and really historical, like cars built in 1910, 1915, 20, those eras, the cars that were 5 feet tall, in the 20-inch wheels, but not 20-inch wheels like the rappers like these days, little 3 inches wide and 25 inches tall overall and stuff like that. They have some great racing. If you have some time to kill, just punch in Goodwood Festival of Speed or just Goodwood, and you'll have hours of entertainment. And like that 64 Galaxy, those guys throw those cars around, man. They drive them hard. They are there. These are not parade laps. These are historical cars that are getting the wheels driven off them. They get ringers in, like ringer drivers. They'll get ex-touring car drivers, touring car champions. Some big names drive some of the cars at Goodwood, and they are there to win. They are not there to come second, and they drive the wheels off them, and it's just awesome to watch. Jeff Hutchins, Todd Denio, haha, me too. Bird is my only New Zealand racing reference. Yeah, well, he was the pinnacle of Kiwi can do, because Kiwi had to. Like, we couldn't ring up and order parts. We were at the bottom of the world, and what we didn't have, we had to make. And those guys, I think I have a little bit of that, but those guys, were just the masters of it. The absolute masters of it. They were awesome. Tavo, up till 71, Bathurst was for factory showroom cars. They didn't allow roll cages as of 69. Otherwise, it was the same car you could buy in the showroom down to the lighter in the dash. Yeah, they were like Group N for nothing. But yeah, that was, they would lurch and rock and roll their way around the circuit. David Tyree, hell, NASCAR was better back then. True. Barracuda, I don't want to upset anyone who has a modern VW, but I've heard some bad stories. VW is quite popular here. Haven't heard a lot of bad stories, other than the big one when they got cheating on their diesels. But Robert Beckler, sorry. Whenever I feel like buying a new vehicle, I watch YouTube car reviews. That ends to foolishness. yeah, I didn't do that. Possibly, yeah, maybe I should have. I don't know. Jeff Hutchins, I think NASCAR should get stock cars with a roll cage, racing seats and belts, fuel cell and go. They spend so much time trying to make the racing equal. And back then, when they were closer to stock cars, some cars dominated, some cars didn't. And sometimes, people would win by a lap. And this is what we tend to forget a little bit about the good old days. Sometimes the racing wasn't that good, but when it was good, it was really good. But sometimes there was dominant cars that just ran away, and you knew who was going to, maybe not who, but you knew what car was going to win before the race even started, because there was enough of them entered that half of the favourites broke down, the other half had still come through for first, second, and third. So that wasn't always good racing, but the memory tends to gloss over some of those details at times. But I do think it was good. Just the cars were much more real somehow to me. And even down to NASCARs, when you see a car that's actually got the doors welded shut, that was a real car. The cars of, Toyota Camrys running in NASCAR that never ever came out with a V8. Yeah, that doesn't compute to me. But Aussie touring cars have done the same thing. They had Nissan Maximas racing with V8s in them. Volvos with front engine rear drive V8s, which were just a created car. But that's when they kind of lost the plot a bit, I think. Todd and I, after seeing the world's fastest Indian, I did some studying on Bertrand Munro. Old guy was brilliantly insane, a very worthy hero to speed. Plus he had a bad ticker, inspiring to me. There you go. Yeah, not much stopped him. Chris Free Messi. Honestly, everything today is kind of shit one way or another, but VWR experts had two modern VWs, would never touch one again. Wow, and you're a VW fan, so that's a damning report, isn't it? Oh, Volfly, I saw a guy tear down an F1 engine from the 90s on YouTube. It was like alien technology, crazy stuff. It really was, still is. It's crazy stuff. F1 is, the things they do, the numbers, it's the cutting edge of the cutting edge. Volfly, external oil and coolant plumbing looks so crazy. Yeah, it was wild. And some of the one of the things I remember was I can't remember the era, but it might have been the 80s when BMW were in Formula One, and they had the most powerful engine. And in qualifying, basically it was a 3-lap engine for qualifying. That was a warm-up lap, one hot lap, and a slowdown lap. And they would jam the wastegate shut, so they had maximum boost, which was allegedly about 65 pounds. And those cars would leave 2 black stripes down the back straight in 6th gear with all the downforce. They were still accelerating so hard they would leave black stripes, with 1,500 pounds of downforce and big sticky qualifying slicks. They just could not hang on to the horsepower. They were just amazing. There we go. Kiwi. Barry Kerr, Kiwi, have you heard of the racer Dennis Marwood? Yes, I have. I was wondering what he's doing now and found he died a couple of years ago. I'm trying to think whether I knew that or not. It's a name that I haven't. Yeah, it's definitely a name from fairly deep in the past. But yeah, he was a big racer. Todd Denai, those Goodwood races are funny, watching the tiny European ones trying to stay out of the 64 Galaxy's way. Laughing my ass off. Yeah. But don't they get after them? And some unlikely looking cars getting raced, little Morris Minors and stuff like that. And it's just great to watch the diversity and watch actually. One of the things that makes them look so good is, for the most part, they handle pretty badly, and which makes it spectacular to watch. It's not technically a very good race car or handling very well, but they were all in the same boat, so to speak, like no pun intended. None of them handled very well, and you just had to get on with it. You just had to hang on for dear life and go as fast as you could. And while it wasn't like the Formula One go-kart racing that is kind of dominates today, where you dare not get a tiny bit sideways because you lose too much. You lose a few thousandths of a second. Like those old Galaxies, you took them by the scruff of the neck and you threw them in a corner and you just hung on and hoped you popped out the other side, and hoped you had your front wheels pointing the right direction. But it made it very fun to watch. Josh Homan, electric cars and racing sounds like a good idea. It could be the Range Anxiety 500. I got sucked down a rabbit hole last week sometime of making comments on Facebook, and I can't remember how I got. A guy was ragging on about electric cars, and I just went in and said, as soon as I get the batteries figured out, then he was saying how even though electric cars are so new and the technology is pretty new, they're kicking the ass of the all the internal combustion engines. And I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm not sure whose ass you think they're kicking, but it's not the combustion engine, because they can't do much more than 100 miles at wide open throttle. And it just went downhill from there. What is it they say? Only a fool argues with an idiot. So I was a fool, and we went backwards and forwards about 5 times, and I'm like, what? Why are you wasting your time on this guy? Like, you're not changing his mind. He won't see reason. So I just dropped out at that point. But I got sucked in. It was mildly entertaining for 20 minutes. Wow, 9:03. We're out of time, guys. I loved NASCAR when Dodge was in it, 2001, 2015. After that, I lost interest as well. The drivers were way more interesting too, as Kiwi said. That's how I found it. I really did. I'm glad that it wasn't just me. Todd Denai, a NASCAR driver, Dick Trickle, had a cigarette lighter in his stock car to light his cigarettes. Dick Trickle was cool and a fun guy to hang out with. He wanted my brother on his pit crew. Oh, wow, that's very cool. That's very cool. Barracuda, I knew a man who was given a Touareg as a company car. He was looking forward to getting to use it properly as it was being repaired more than it was on the road. Oh, dear. That's no good. Chief Hutchins, perfect name. The Anxiety 500. Watch them all rocking back and forth in their seat trying to get 500 miles. Yeah, good luck getting 500 miles out of a battery at 40 mile an hour, let alone racing it. Chris Freeman. He had a VW Passat. Thing was in the shop so often it had more miles on it vertically than horizontally. I'd never heard that description, but that's pretty funny. Oh, good Lord. Barracuda, what is a Touareg? It's a Touareg, I think is actually the spelling. Touareg. It's a luxury SUV, Volkswagen SUV. Garth Harris, morning Kiwi. Hope all in morning. Is it morning over your way? Must be from NZ. Hope all is well on your end of the world. Yeah, we're doing fine here. Don't mention American politics, or we'll be fine. That's a no-go here at the moment, or any time really, but particularly at the moment. That's as much as we're going to get into it. But yeah, glad to have you here, man. We're about to sign off, so it's a shame you're quite that late, but hey, better late than never. David Torrey, what about Bruce McLaren, Chris Amos? Too much bourbon. And Denny Holm, all great motorsport personalities, drivers. Very, very talented guys. Jeff Hutchinson, personally, I like the domination. If your car sucks, make it better. That used to be one of the reasons for racing, making road cars better. Couldn't agree more, Jeff. Couldn't agree more. If your car sucks, make it better. Yes. Not sure that's a slogan you could use up on a billboard, but I still like the slogan. It did mean people had to get off their butts and actually make their car better, not just complain about they're cheating or they've got a better aero package, or the aero packages, disputes, drive me insane. It's like, because as soon as the other brand wins a race, they've got a better aero package. Well, maybe their car's better. Maybe the team's better. That was one thing. Actually, that's a story that was something of the discussion we had, flipping back to Greg Murphy. I'm going to run over a bit here, but this is a good story. When we had that breakfast with Greg Murphy, and one of the questions that came up was, at the time, there was a perceived discrepancy in performance between the Fords and the Holdens, and Murphy was a Holden, and the Holdens were all the Ford guys were complaining. And this flips and flops. Don't start taking shots at me about Fords. Sometimes the Fords were quicker and sometimes the Holdens were quicker. At this point of the game, the Commodores were quicker, and we said, what about the disparity between Holden and Ford? And Murphy, actually, that hit a little nerve with him. You could tell he got a little serious, and he said, there is no disparity. There is one, there's no disparity between Holden and Ford. He said there is one Holden team that is dominating. It wasn't his team. It was another Holden team. And he said, they are dominating. Then he said, that is because they are doing a better job than the rest of us. And I just thought, wow, he's being very real, very honest. And when you actually thought about it, there was one team that was dominant. There was a disparity between this one team and everyone else. It wasn't between Ford and GM, if you actually had an honest look at it. But of course, all the Ford guys were crying foul of the Commodores, and the Commodores were pointing at this one team that was dominating and saying they're cheating. And it's like, you just need to get out there and race. And that was Murphy to a T. He didn't suffer a lot of BS. So that's my story. It was cool. It was very refreshing to see him not just, blow off the Ford guys of being whiners or whatever. He just said that, no, there is no disparity, because he was getting his ass kicked by this other team, just like the Fords were. And he was actually prepared to admit that, admit and say that he and his team were not as good as they were. It wasn't the cars. Anyway, Barracuda. Oh, it seems I didn't know how to spell it. Well, man, you might have been right. I don't know, mate. I don't know. Okay, guys. Calvin RF. Good afternoon, Kiwi. It's raining here in Thames today, so I decided to have a catch up. I'm enjoying the Alpine. Oh, cool, mate. Great. I'm glad you are. Firefly. Last Saturday night, a riot broke out at the racetrack when a hit and miss engine double fired. Oh, Firefly. Where do you... Your sense of humour is awesome. There we go. Jeff Hutchins, Kiwi. when you've bested a fool, you've accomplished nothing. Well said. Well said. That's why I removed myself from the chat. I had to kind of take myself by the ear and go, oi, you got better shit to do than argue with an idiot. But I got sucked in. What can I say? Right, who we got? Beagle Bob, want more inches? Stroke it. Some performance company makes those shirts. Ah, really? That's a good t-shirt. I like it. I'm going to have to try and get one of them somewhere. Wildfly, be right back. Checking for dinner. Well, you might miss out on us, brother. It's 9:10. I've got to go to bed. Where have we got here? Saw a recent interview of John Bow. He said he didn't like racing against Murphy. Oh, really? Why was that? I wonder. Because he was good? Because he was like what? I wonder what that was. Huh. Awesome. All right. Well, fellas, it's time to go. It's 9:11. It's been an awesome night again. So thank you for your input. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. It's always fun, and you never quite know what subject we're gonna hit on, which just makes it even more interesting. Hit and miss engines. There you go. Shame that's quite so late to the chat, but hey, maybe next week we'll talk about hit and miss engines in depth, and you can teach me all about them. All right, fellas. Well, yeah, have a good one. Have a good week. Try and get out there and work on your cars, get some shit done, and come back next Tuesday and tell me all about it. All right, fellas, have a good one, and I will see you next week. Take it easy. Yeah. There we go.